Like, if those, like, here's my question. I asked the crystal collectors.
Hello. How y'all doing out there? Hello. Good evening. Is it evening yet? No. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
I do that all the time in Portuguese. I'd be like, oh shit, it's like 12 o'clock at night.
Okay. Welcome to today's event. We're so honored to have Baba Mike here. If I can have everyone's attention, por favor. Thank you.
But I would like to see that one comment.
That's okay. All right. We're happy to have Baba Mike here. His real name is actually Mikael Alazar. He likes the name Baba Mike, so y'all can call him Baba Mike too. That's a lot of echo. It just got like super echoey.
It's all good.
Okay. That's a little bit better. Yeah, that's a lot better. Thank you. Okay. Mikael Alazar is a U.S. citizen from Eritrea, East Africa. He went to college at SUNY Old Westbury, Long Island, New York. And something that really influenced his musical taste was that he lived 5 blocks away from the Apollo Theater. He got a chance to see many groups and many acts like The Temptations, James Brown, Nancy Wilson, Manhattans, that really expanded his taste. And something that he has a lot of pride on is that he did this research on his own. So a lot of the cultural and history of African people, especially the diaspora, especially Africans in America, he learned it on his own. So we're so happy to have his knowledge here with us today in the form of a presentation, and there will even be some live music. So without further ado, please clap it up for Baba Mike.
I don't know why it's so loud. Hello? Out. Hello?
Yeah. Maybe if you speak loudly, we could hear you clearer and better. If he speaks without the mic.
You have to control the mic. The mic is not good. Hello. Is that?
Oh wait, when you hold it further away from you, it sounds.
Better?
Yeah.
Hello. Is that better or here?
No,
A bit further.
Further?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Try to help him set it.
Mikael, introduce Mikael. So, my name is Mikael, and I would like to introduce also some friends who will help us here demonstrate a little bit. This is not a music live event per se. It's not. It's more historical and understanding and observing the music we call the blues, jazz, and all that. And Brother Tagle here is going to have a saxophone and demonstrate a little bit how the blues is, we're going to have. And also Roberto, I don't know where he is now. Roberto is born and raised in Cuba, but he lives in the United States. He's our band leader at the Malcolm X Park with the drum session at the Malcolm X Park. So I invited her also. We're going to play also rhythms, different kind of rhythms, because we as Africans, all of us, are rhythm people. So it will be appropriate to have some music. Roberto, ¿dónde está Roberto? Venga, por favor.
Look at me.
Su cerveza.
Yeah, it's okay.
¿Listo?
Sí.
Ajá, let's go.
Cerveza. Nada más con esto.
¿Cuál es este? Este es tuyo, ¿no?
Oh, yeah.
Este es tuyo.
No, fuimos.
Okay. Roberto originally is from Havana, Cuba, but his rhythm is also a teacher of us in the park. He's very good. And we're all the rhythm people. Above all, we're all the rhythm people. Do you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
See?
Ah, buongiorno.
Yeah, okay.
Buongiorno.
Okay. So we're gonna start with the rhythm a little bit to show you, but later on I'm gonna go to what I really prepared, and then in the middle we're gonna show you now. It's called 6/8 rhythm. Basically, we play in Ethiopia, basically, and also in Cuba they play. Here also a little bit, but not too much. But here also they play 6/8 rhythm. We're gonna play it now. It's basically introduction.
He's so good. I wish I had my camera.
Empieza, güey.
Ese micrófono. Dale.
El micrófono.
Sí, no quiero.
Así.
Yeah.
Dale, como lo que tú hagas.
Yeah.
Dale.
All right, let's go to our discussion here. Después, ¿no?
Cerveza, ¿no?
¿Sí, cerveza?
Okay, this is just opening the eye.
Eso es su primero.
Would you have to? Is this the first? That was not the first beer. Ah, got it. See if I can hear you.
I think I'm gonna break it if I move it.
The two in front of us. Look, that is right in front of you. Though.
Okay, later on in our program, Mr. Tehle, also the saxophone player, he's going to demonstrate us a little bit how. But I just want to introduce you that he's here also. And also we come back again with the drums, some, and then move to our program. Let me start with this now. The title I gave for our discussion this afternoon is Understanding the Blues. Can you hear me well? All right. That's going to the roots of it and go or navigate this route. For sure, I can't, no one can cover all the history of the blues, simply because it's not only music, but it's also a sociology. The study for people, African descent, their experience, life, and adversity. Tonight, we're here at Sankofa to celebrate Black History Month, and I am trying to touch and follow the roots of the flow of the music we call the blues. Before I start and go on to our discussion, I would like to thank Mr. Haile, the owner of the Sankofa establishment, and the staff at Sankofa who are always helpful to make this place a home for everyone. Okay. In order to have some understanding of the blues, we have to go a little back in history. Blues is simple music by simple people. Blues was sung for generations by African descent who were enslaved to America. After they arrived in the America, that includes the Caribbean, everything was taken from them. Their language, their religion, their freedom. But one thing that cannot be taken away from them is their thoughts, mind and soul. Because it's inseparable will of themselves. Example, what I mean by that. A man pulls a gun and asks you to give him your wallet. Of course, you're gonna hand him your wallet, otherwise he's gonna shoot you. But deep in your heart, and your mind, you're not willing to give it to him because your will is separable from you, your mind and your soul. You're forced to give it to him, but not willing to give it to him. So the will, we're not willing to be in the condition we are, but we're forced to be in that condition. That's what basically I'm trying to say. Topic, understanding the blues. First, its origin as a seed planted in African mind, how it found itself in a place of the spirituals and hymns of Christian culture, especially during emancipation and after, how it resisted negation by the establishment of religious institutions and believers or followers of church observers, and why, how it asserted itself, and that's it said is here to stay. How the blues was found more by the other side, and had cemented itself as a written language in sheet music by the same people they shunned it in the past or has not too much interest and knowledge about it. Okay. And how the development of jazz trying to incorporate the blues, and how the blues roots branch out to faster beats like boogie, rock and roll, soul music, etc. New Alliance, the blues men and English rock musicians revived the music and blues musicians to a world status. We find blues intertwined in all forms of modern music and easy listening. At the end, its footprint in jazz has elevated the blues into an art form, and a more to abstract art form of music that could last for generations with a worldwide impact. Its final resting place to be called the classical music of America, or better called African music for African descent in America as classical music. That's jazz. Okay. Young and old men and women were forced to enter the gates of no return to board the ships in the coastal area of Africa. They carried nothing except their body and soul, and their memories of their loved ones. After they arrived there, they were dispersed according to who owns and ultimately decide their future, the future of their generations. In short, they are stripped of everything a human being can possess, and they are the mercy of their masters, except the air that they breathe. To explain the total damage one can endure is beyond our thoughts. But one thing is for sure: we as humans are not passive, but active. We adapt and we change and we develop, even if it takes us years, decades, or centuries. Should the music be sung under oppression and suffering? Yes, of course. Music is the only appropriate response next to silence when everything is not all right. The blues were generated in the cotton fields, on the levees, or on the front porch of the people who bore unspeakable burdens of privation and destitution. Yet the blues is not bitter or vengeful, plaintive at times, yes, mournful, but the blues is profoundly hopeful. The blues have been called many things: the devil's music, or simply simple tunes. Its critics are both black and white. Here I can give an example of Mr. W. Handy. That picture, can you show them? Can you raise that? This is W.C. Handy. He's called the father of the blues. His father was a minister, so he told the Christian music is one day when without his parents' permission, Handy bought his first guitar, which he had seen in the local shop window, and secretly saved the money by picking up berries and nuts and making Lysol. Upon seeing the guitar, his father asked him, "What possesses you to bring this simple thing like that in our Christian home and order him to take it back where he came from and arranges his son to take organ lessons. Thank you. The Black Church have become the principal institution giving meaning and hope to enslaved peoples of African descent. The church was the strongest single force in the transition from Africans to African Americans. Even after emancipation, the Christian faith was the deepest consolation for Black people. Still enduring oppression and racial prejudice, but there was a parallel world to that of the church, a secular world amusement that lay alongside church in a difficult relationship. It's in that parallel world that the blues are sung. Blues singers were called to repent, and parents told their children to stay away from the blues and associate low life. But the world has grown and taken on life of its own. Yet, there is another side to this dichotomy. First, sin is not necessarily all on one side. Blues singers can have asserted that there is plenty of hypocrisy in the church and that not every preacher was a righteous person. Someone needs to sing about that. The blues allow people to articulate feelings and evoke subjects not always directly addressed by the church. For example, lost love, indeed abandonment, is a constant theme in the blues, and for a good reason. Blues and gospel overlap. Bluesmen become preachers, and preachers turn to sing the blues. Has more commonalities. The two worlds overlap at the deepest level. The lyrics are also absolutely crucial, but the distinguishing feature of the blues is surely as passionate music. Well, here I can quote B.B. King, one of the heroes of the blues music. He said, "I didn't want to disrespect my parents, so I never played blues around them. But I knew then the same that I know today, that I wasn't doing anything wrong. I think that before they died, they both felt very proud of me." That's B.B. King. Again, B.B. King has said, B.B. King, who sang gospel in the 40s in the Delta, said also, "I've heard that Black folks are supposed to have this big conflict between singing for the world and singing for God. I believe all music, talent comes from God as a way to express beauty and human emotion." That's B.B. King. Blues singers can have asserted that there is plenty of... Oh, I said it already. Okay, no, that's that already. So I just mentioned that blues is simple music for simple people. Can you play me Manish Boy? Manish Boy, I think. Two.
B.B. King, so Albert King?
No, this Manish Boy is... no, not them. Manish Boy, you write down?
By Muddy Water order from you. By Muddy Water.
Yeah. Okay. Very words, yeah, please. You have that?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Everything gonna be all right this morning. Oh yeah. Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I'm gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man. I passed 21. I would believe me, baby. I have lots of fun. Oh man, I spell him A-child in that revolution lane. Lordy, oh child, why that mean Spanish boy? Man, I'm a fool man. I'm a man.
So as you heard, simple music. He tries to send a message, but again, the music is very passionate. You still don't get bored by it. But of course, things develop. The blues also have developed more, more we call it in music chord structure or round and stuff like that. So it has changed, but that's how they started. I will play also a little bit Preaching the Blues. You can Sun House.
Preaching blues was a preacher a long time in those families. East Cal Pass. They called counties. In Louisiana, then they changed it, they called it parish. Now we're living in the East Cal Pass. Down Louisiana. Oh, another quarter out. And y'all was Louisiana. But he hadn't still, I never did forget this. I said, well, I'll make a piece about preaching the blues. I'm gonna give me a religion. I said I'm gonna join the Baptist Church. Yeah, give me religion. I said I'm gonna join the Baptist Church. Now I said I want to be a Baptist preacher. in your head. I'll be glad when this old cordless is gone out. That time I found up a cookie and I took out down the road.
You play Memphis Blues by Louis Armstrong. Memphis Blues was composed by W.C. Handy, but I have the version from Louis Armstrong, so I won't hear that.
Louisiana.
Yeah. From there?
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice. Well, Louisiana, very historical place for jazz and blues. So, you know, Jerry Roy Morton, he's from Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanted Memphis Blues or you wanted
We play
Memphis Blues or Louisiana?
yeah, Memphis Blues by Louis Armstrong.
I had another version.
Folks, I've just been down to Memphis town. That's where the people smile on you all the while. Hospitality, they were good to me. I couldn't spend a dime and had the grandest time. I went out to dancing with a Tennessee deer. I had a fella named Handy with a band you should hear. And while the folks gently swayed, all the boys began to play real harmony. I never will forget that tune they call Handy's Memphis Blues. Oh, yes, those blues. They got a trumpet man leading the band. And folks, he sure blows them on. And when the clarinet seconds to the trombones crew, it moans just like a sinner on revival day. That melancholy strain, that ever haunting refrain, is like a morning sorrow song. Here comes the very part that wraps a spell around my heart. It sets me wild to hear that loving tune again, those Memphis
Thank you, Mikhaila. That's Memphis Blues. That was written by W.C. Handy. W.C. Handy, because of his spiritual background, he was good at music, so he started to write later on. He started to write the blues in Britain. So one of the pioneers in putting music in paper. So we give him credit for that. And that's his composition, Memphis Blues. Beale Street Blues is, I believe, from Memphis, right?
Yes.
Memphis, yeah. So Beale Street is a famous, like U Street we have here. And it's like that. And he's you know, even though he was told by his father not to play, you know, later on, you know, your heart tells you, you know, what to do. You know what I mean? So he got to be writing the blues, you know, and yeah, we give him a lot of credit for that. And okay, so he has his own recording, but so old, so you know, what Louis plays is more, you know, entertaining. some of the old recordings are not, you know, that plenty to listen to them. So, well, just how the blues was ignored as a devil's music in the early 1900s, so was jazz vilified as a devil's trash and against civilization and morality, decadent. But the truth always wins, not only because it's truth, but jazz and blues musicians believed in it and kept fighting for its survival in the most difficult places like Storyville, tiny clubs, juke joints, brother houses, street shows, and migrating where it has some followers in big cities like Chicago, New York, St. Louis, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., etc. But just as spirituals overlap with the blues, jazz is also integrate with the blues. There's no jazz without the blues. Blues is foundation of jazz, part and parcel of jazz, and that's what we're going to cover tonight also. This is a quote, again, I quote B.B. King. B.B. King said, "Jazz is a big brother of the blues. If a guy is playing blues like we're playing, he's in high school. When he starts playing jazz, it's like going to college, to a school of higher learning." That's what B.B. King again said. Well, it's interesting, you know, I started with blues and all that, and then I started to understand, also to read more, to read more about what happened about after the emancipation. We all think that the emancipation is the best thing that happened. But then again, it wasn't really not. After the emancipation, people were going, first of all, you emancipated, you have the right to work. But if you don't know how, you have the right to work, but if you don't know how to write, you cannot work. So people were going to school. Older people with their children, they go to school, so they know how to read and vote. And by doing that, through support of all the abolitionists and freed slaves also, contribution, all that. So they start to have impact on the elections of the parties at that time. So they didn't like them because they are supporting, you know, the other party. So in the South, they try to attack them and go against them, basically. So they had a hard time. The blacks had a hard time. That era was called Construction Period. It only lasted for 10 years. So even though the African American descent were free, it's first of all the war. Everything was ruined. So it's so difficult. But at least they are free. They can go wherever they want. Some of them stay in the plantation and get paid. So, but most of them, there's no too much space. They try to migrate and then of course what we call the Great Migration started. The Great Migration started, and when the Great Migration started, then it developed the Ku Klux Klan and all that, the rising of the Klan and all that. It didn't last long. In 1894, I believe, right? That's when the law passed, the Jim Crow law. 1894, am I right? Anybody can correct me?
It started Plessy versus Ferguson was what initiated it.
1894, right?
You see, we look up Plessy
I think
versus
it was a
Ferguson.
black coat.
Anybody knows that? 1894? Jim Crow, when did it go in effect?
1896.
Black codes. So they were the prior to
Yeah,
Jim Crow.
1894.
Yeah.
So from 65 to 94 was 35, not even 35 years, right? 30 years? It's 30 years. In that 30 years, already the white people have start to curtail the development of the African descent in all kind of forms. So it's difficult. Then what they call after 1920s, the great migration going to Philadelphia, New York, north. And then it started, World War I started. 1914, World War I started. And again, brought a lot of difficulties. Then when the war ended in 1718, that then there was a little brief. Then World War II started. So it was a difficult period. The whole period was difficult, especially if you're African American. It was a difficult period. So then after World War II, got things and 54, I believe 54, the Jim Crow was abolished. Who's Jim Crow? Anybody knows? Can tell me who Jim Crow is? Does anybody know? Help me. Okay, Ryan.
If my memory serves me correctly, there was a song that was sung in like minstrels, and it had something to do with Jump Jim Crow. So it was like a derogatory term and like dance that white people would do with black face on. And then that phrase, Jump Jim Crow, and that whole thing became associated with the black codes and the time of just keeping black people down and terrorizing black people. And ultimately that phrase, Jim Crow, became known as the era.
Very good. He said very nice. And by the way, he plays guitar. I like it. He sings also here.
I like him too.
He's Sankofa member.
Right.
So basically, he said everything right, but I want to add something to it. Basically, Jim Crow is a fictional character. It's not a human being. It's a fictional character. Okay, let me. He mentioned the mystery shows. Mystery shows like many theaters that's happening. This is before movies have started. Cinema house been opened. People go into a stage, they do skits, dance, comedy, and stuff like that. And actually, the places they established didn't pay them. People put money on them. So that's how they were expressing it. So in the white community, the mystery show is, as he said, he mentioned, they paint themselves black, and they're acting now as how the other black man in the stage, how he's acting as a cool guy, as a. I have written down here exactly what they think about him. I'll find in a second.
You have it. You're a guy. You split it. You're a man.
Yeah. Anyway, I remember what it is. It's the Jim Crow is as fat, big belly, and lazy, and foolish, and only he's chicken and watermelon. That's how it's described in the show. It's a fictional show. So of course, white people in the white community, whatever, they laugh about it. You know, they have their day. You know what I mean? They speaking about a bad thing about the blacks, so they laugh about it. So that's what it is. So Jim Crow is basically a fictional character. He's not a human being. He's a fictional character depicting as a black man, and they do it in the mystery shows. Some of them were later, of course, before the movie started. Even black folks later started mystery show, meaning shows. They call them mystery shows. What do they call them? What else? They call them. They have different names. They give them. Joints and so that's what it is. So before the movie starts, there were shows. Even black theaters, men had a group of singers that go around shows and stuff like that. One of the first show, the recent show was Marie from just from Memphis. Where's she from? Marie, yeah. So she was with her family. She was a little young guitar player, but accompanying her mom, and they were doing this.
This is from Georgia.
She, Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, she's from Georgia. So that was the first single, and a lot of famous singers who made Marvin, some of them.
Marini's Black Bottom. You'll say.
I got a friend to call, Campus Baby.
Sing.
Baby, gonna hold, baby, baby. Like all the South and love, you baby, baby. The light, the path. Some have the boys from out, I was there. Come on, let's Calvary. But out there, you only hear me say, for the sweetest dance, the Lord of like mama. I want to understand. Want to see the dance for the big black bottom. They put the innocent. All the boys in the neighborhood.
And we have now, Ms. Dudley is going to play a little bit saxophone, which show us about Charlie Bird Soup, right? Charlie Bird Soup and Yardbird Soup, but Charlie Parker, and he's going to show us a little bit. So what he's playing is this Charlie Parker, and he's playing the blues. He's playing the blues for Charlie Parker. That's blues for Charlie Parker. Who's Charlie Parker? Charlie Parker is an American from Kansas City, and he elevated the music into more improvisational and more like abstract form of art, and as we call it, jazz today. So, like you heard Bibi King said before, when you play, like we play, it's guys in high school. When you play jazz, he's in college and higher learning. So they took it to a level higher than what we call jazz. So that's to show you a little bit example. So now we're going to play some rhythm here around the Robertito, come on.
Just want you that way. Not easy to pull on. You want to play? You want to play? You want to go back? Okay.
People being Go ahead. Samba.
Ah, samba. Mi preferido. Sí. Baiana.
Capoeira. Dale. Go ahead. You.
Muito obrigada a você.
I gotta go.
They go to the park.
Senhor. Necesita ayuda? ¿Podemos ayudar?
No, I got it.
You got it? You got both?
Gracias. Hey, I'm sorry for the samba.
Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. How you doing?
Gracias.
How you doing?
How are you?
Good to see you.
Oh, wait a minute. I'll be back.
Well, I have said what I want to say, and I want to, I have some few things left. I didn't go into the jazz part yet, but the blues has developed more. My taste is now, for me, speaking for myself. Of course, I speak also for many others. The taste that I have for the blues now is the blues and jazz. That's in my head. That is I get high for. So can you play me Super Bowl by Rodney Jones? And make it a little louder for me. Or feel it. This is really high octane jazz and blues. Matter of fact, you're gonna hear. I have a plan for you. Roberto, te bring up part, okay?
That's it.
Make it loud. What kind of music is this? Anybody know? Huh? Not the title, anything. What genre of music is this? It's blues. Right?
Yeah.
You sure about it?
No,
You sure it's a blues?
no, not anymore.
Let's continue. We're here. We talk again. Make it louder. They can feel it.
Something really wrong.
Yeah, thank you for listening to the music, and this is Rodney Jones. He's from his family from Virginia. He born in Connecticut and lives in New York. Rodney Jones, guitar player, and the organist is Lonnie Liston Smith from PA, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. So as you can see, how it's loose, but how it's highly developed into an art form which is very difficult for people, for anybody to grasp it easily. That's what art is about. Art doesn't stay in one place. It moves, it changes. So, if do you think I took a lot more time?
You can have a few more minutes.
Few more minutes. So maybe I should read this and then. Okay. The evolution of we are on jazz already. The evolution of jazz from radically new and socially unacceptable musical genre to its current status as a great American art form is a big victory for of the people of African descent. Jazz was different because it broke all the rules of musical and social. It is featured improvisation over traditional structure, performer over composer, and Black American experience over conventional white sensibilities. And undercurrent of racism bore strongly upon the opposition to jazz, which was seen as barbaric and immoral. When jazz tried to emerge, we destroy young people's interest in classical music, trying to say European classical music was the only good music. Once a musician, actually it was a white musician named Mary McPartland, she was in the radio, South Carolina University, I think. She said she was studying classical music and she was practicing music and she was trying some jazz, trying to play some jazz. And the professor heard her playing, stop playing that trash. He said, he told her. But the music played on. New Orleans became the first center of jazz, with honky-tonk clubs, Poppy Over, Storyville, the cities, Red Light District, and all that. And jazz became in the world. And what I'm saying is the establishment, or the black establishment, the white establishment, always, they didn't want the blues, they didn't want the jazz, they didn't have any other music to replace that. They don't. White people dig blues now. They dig jazz now. That's American music. But how the resistance towards anything that comes from us, they always try to put it down. But the force of, see, the future is not for the oppressor. Future is not for the oppressor. The people will eventually. So the contribution of jazz, Americans don't jazz. It's all over the world. Maybe Americans here, they don't have clubs. America is a fast society. I'm not from here. I mean, I was not born here. And I can see the difference. You know? And what I'm trying to say is that they won't bury anything we do. But the reality always overcomes. And Americans are proud over the world because they listen to jazz. They say it's from America. You know what I mean? But, okay, I think I've said enough and we don't have too much time.
Do you want to say some questions?
Yeah, yes. A few questions I could take. I don't know if I can answer them, but go ahead. Anybody?
Do you have a bibliography for where you got your research?
Well,
That was some good research.
well, let me put it this way. That's my religion.
It says
Music, not only music, eventually, jazz is my religion. And at the end, I found jazz as very spiritual. We don't have time to talk too much about it, but if you listen to Coltrane, my Lord, Dear Lord, can you play that? Coltrane, Dear Lord, and Love Supreme.
So,
Became very, very spiritual.
so do you see jazz and blues as the same?
Well, for me, the old blues for me now is this.
It's jazz.
It's jazz. It's transformed. It became an art form. But here we tend to see, they say, oh, when you say, oh, it's not old music, you know, for old people, the 40s, the 50s. That's how they put it. We're buried. You're buried in the contemporary world. Listen, there's no great musician, artist than Michael Jackson. For me. Well, what is he now? Do you hear about him? Do you hear about Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
It's finished. But jazz is an art form. It's really art form that develops again and again. And it's still around the world. It's global. You might not see it in the neighborhood, but it's global. Charlie Parker, when you go to high school band, when they play Charlie Parker Omni Book. It's a textbook. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, thank you, Baba Mike, for sharing the drumming and the jazz and the blues with us. I think you did a great job. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, would you be able to share some history about the drums? And then also, if you could also share with us how you were exposed to jazz.
How I what?
How you were exposed to jazz.
Well, I live in New York City. So, New York City is where the dispatching area for all jazz musicians to the world. You get connected there and you fly all over. But, of course, jazz is in Detroit, Michigan, jazz is in Philly, jazz is in DC, jazz is in, not New Orleans, all that, but of course, yes, it's the birthplace. What was it?
It's some history about the drums.
The drums, yeah. Well, I shortened here, but I had some here also that I wrote. Anyway, it says, even during slavery time, blacks used to play. They used to build some drums. They used to play some banjos. They used to make by clapping hands. They used to scratch like we do, like we do the drums. But in the spare time when they go, you know, they dance like that. You know, in their community room, they had some kind of community rooms after work. They used to do that and stuff like that. And also, they created also some instruments at that time. You know, not fancy like we have today, but in their condition. Okay.
Makeshift.
I didn't hear you mention Dorsey, Thomas Dorsey.
Who?
Thomas Dorsey.
Thomas Dorsey.
Well, I don't have time to play a lot of musicians. You know, Fletcher Henderson. Jazz was like, eventually jazz took over the music. Jazz used to be in the 40s and 50s, 20s. It was the only music. The only music. Then from the blues developed rock and roll. Rock and roll came on, what's his name? Chuck Berry and Little Richard and all that came. And then jazz, the dance part, they left it. After World War II, I was writing, this is my first speech I ever made in front of people, so I didn't organize it in a short fashion, but she started it. After World War II, before World War II was like dance halls, big bands, Benny Goodman, Tommy Dorsey, Fletcher Henderson, Ellington, big bands, the ballrooms, all they play. They used to play, you know, like the best mention Ellington, he told him, well, Ellington, he didn't sleep in the hotel room that we were playing. Say Ellington said, I didn't go to sleep there. They don't let me sleep in the hotel that I played. So I go somewhere and sleep, and I write more blues. And I write more blues, he said. So anyway, after that, after World War II, they started building this quartet. That was like formal. You got the dress, bow tie and all that. It's like a military in a sense, 17, 16 bands and stuff like that. And then after World War II, musicians, they start, Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, and Monk, and all these people, they start what do you call bebop music, and they have quartet. They don't dress in uniform. They're only 4 or 5 people, quartet, and no more dancing. And it's only appreciation about the music. So, let me put it this way. I read it somewhere. When art becomes pure, it tends to attract less people. To most, they have respect, but not loving. Meaning, we don't hate it. We don't buy the record. We don't go there and stuff like that. It's not commercialized highly, in daily life. So, but it's there. Are you going to follow it or not? That's a different story. By the way, I'm proud for Samara Joy. It's a young 24-year-old. She just got the Grammys. She's a jazz singer. In this age, where you see all kind, this to be a 24, Samara Joy, check it out. She got the Grammys for new artists and all kind. But she had the teachers behind her. Her family was into music. They play records in the house, Well, this is what you get sometimes, Kids don't see it. They don't learn about it, but it's there. It's here. So it's our music, we should be proud about it. And did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did.
A little bit.
Yeah, you did.
Anybody who has a, please ask me that so I can. Any have questions, guys? Yeah, it's all about listening. Listen. This is what I want to say. I had the list, but a lot of the musicians died when the Japanese musicians died when they're 35, 40, 45. Top musicians. A lot of them. They didn't even pass 50 years old. What? Because they used to work in clubs. They work in clubs. These clubs it's nighttime. They don't work like concerts like we have today. They work 5 days a week. It's a minimum wage. They work 5 days a week. It's nighttime. Associated with liquor, drugs, and all that. You can't avoid it there. So most of them are. But we tend to say, oh, well, he was in drugs, so he played good. Or, we take it different. That's a situation they couldn't escape. So they were, of course, some of them were on drugs and stuff like that. They died. But most of them sacrificed their life and they died before they reached 45. A lot of them. And they gave us this music. But we only have to listen to it. We only have to listen to it. We don't have, but we don't. Why is that? I feel very strong root when I listen to jazz music or music and stuff like that. I feel not only proud, it's our music and stuff like that, but I feel very strong. It gives me like a power of steel in my heart. You know what I'm saying? Because that's my identity. And believe me, jazz music is also, of course, it's central to the African American here, but a lot of musicians from the Caribbean, like Sonny Rollins from the Caribbean, what was his name? Monty Alexander from Jamaica, and from Cabo Verde, some from my father, he played some of my father, but I forgot his name. And Miriam Makeba from South Africa, Abdullah Ibrahim from South Africa, Mulatu Astatike from Ethiopia. So a lot of musicians worldwide. That's our music, that's our identity. It's like the classical music. The white people call it classical music. That's theirs. It is. And it's all around the world. Don't think it's it's gone forever, you know? So let's listen, our kids to listen to that music and stuff like that. That's my message also.
What about rap music? Rap music ties into this?
Well, I am not too much familiar about that, but I can't say too much. But I asked the other day when I heard this controversy of what's the name, the guy, like West, Kanye West. And I told him, listen, I never heard Kanye West's music. And my friend he works with me, says, you're not missing anything, he said. Because I never heard him. Well, they become very popular because these days, because of commercials, this and that, they connect to night, to all this kind of fancy thing. They got money. You know, they got money. This is money country, and we believe in money. You know, I think there's no religion. Money is the religion. You know, and we believe in that. You know, we believe in that. So they highlighted and all that. But of course, there is an art. There is a poetic thing on it. There is also kind of militancy in it. I see, you know, the militant voice of young people, and it allowed the technology. Is before a long time ago, have to go to the studio. There got to be someone. You can't enter the door of the studio unless you're a professional person or something like that. But now you have this drum machine. It's a machine. You put the beat in there. You just wrap around and music, whether it's good or bad. Some of them are trash. Some of them are, you know, some of them good. But there's, you know, more to them. If they make the money that way, I'm not against that. But I can't talk too much about it because I don't know a whole lot of lyrics about it. Sometimes some of them they talk about chicken nuggets and stuff like that. So
You're right, chicken nuggets.
I use that on my passing by. You have the chicken nuggets and all that. So anyway, but its music is there. They make money. More power to them, you know. But let's share the good music with our families, with our children. You know, that's my message. Anything you want to add something? Say something to me.
So what inspired you to go into the blues?
Well, the blues, you know, is
Its African connection.
well, I didn't bring my guitar today, but I play a little bit of guitar, and in the summer I bring it outside and play. It's a 5-tone scale. Music is a 5-tone scale. A lot of African music, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Sudan, Mali, Mauritania, a lot of Chad, they play, we call pentatonic scale, but it's a 5-tone scale. But the blues developed into what we call the blue note scales, like half dominant and stuff like that. They bend it and they play and has it creates its own. But basically, it's a 5-tone scale, so it's similar to that, you know.
Well, James Brown.
Huh?
James Brown.
Well, James Brown is he's the rapper of the '60s, you know, the rapper, the preacher, you could say, you know, he's the militant also. He spoke directly to us. I'm black and proud. How can you know, would he say that, you know? He's saying that loud, you know? Say it loud. I'm black and proud. Don't be shy. Don't be shy about it, you know? So, okay.
What's that?
I have one. And this doesn't have to be about like jazz or blues or anything, but from me to you specifically, is there any type of music genre like in Eritrea that's meant to express sorrow or strife the way that, you know, it doesn't have to like relate to blues at all, but is there just a form of self-expression for grief in music and a type of music from Eritrea that you're familiar with that you can share with us?
Yeah, I left Eritrea when I was young, so I went to Ethiopia. Addis Ababa, I kind of put my life there, and there's a song by Mahmoud Ahmed they call it. He says, let's say in America, it says, when he was singing, ማለትም ማንም አይችለውም ልብ ውስጥ ገብቶ ካላስጨነቀው. When you're trying to mourn, when you're trying to very melancholic, thing when you're singing, unless you have deep inside, you can't do it. So blues came out of, well, blues is something frustration that come out from your heart, from the bottom of your heart. And it's all over the place. People in Cuba, they call the Guajira. Here we call it zita in Ethiopia. They call it blues here. So everybody trying to express their emotion about it. So that's how I see it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I've always been kind of like curious about like how you blend your kind of Eritrean Ethiopian identity with the experience of just Black people in America, and how those two come together for you and through music.
Eritrea was a colonial country. So colonialism, even though it wasn't on my time, I know what it is. Our forefathers went to fight in Libya, they fought in Somalia. The colonizers were taking them as soldiers to fight all over the world. So, and then the colonized, it was like kind of like South Africa at some point. Some people didn't still vote because the colonization and really roads and stuff like that, they minimized that. Say, there's a book called, whatever they put there says, what they do there is, I didn't do it for you. They want to settle there. Like in South Africa, for example, they want to settle whatever the roads or whatever they do over there, they want to settle there. They do it for them. They didn't do it for us. And luckily World War II came, and the Allies, the British forces came from Sudan, and they kicked out the Italians, both from Eritrea and Ethiopia at that time, because they also, the Italians went to Ethiopia in 1935, so they kicked them out. And it's after that we got the chance to have our country in our hands, basically, the people. Otherwise, during the colonial time was no good. Yeah, she's frustrated.
No.
But if you play me one song. That song was Keep On Coming.
I knew you were gonna ask for that one. I didn't play it. We didn't play it yet. You wanna hear it?
Yeah, this song is also by Jimmy Smith, which traditionally the organ was in the church. Organ in the church, like the church have pipe organ with pipes on the wall, or we call Hammond organ also big with the Leslie, and they were church music. Yeah, that's what it is. So I see this Jimmy Smith, this organ player, jazz musicians. I compare it to, Prometheus.
Prometheus.
Oh yeah.
Who is that?
He was a Greek hero.
God.
He must have rescued somebody, probably from. Yeah.
He stole fire from heaven.
Okay, he stole fire from heaven. Okay.
He stole fire from heaven. So Jimmy Smith stole the organ from the church.
Oh, okay,
From the
alright.
church to the symphony jazz world.
Okay.
So shout it out. Finish. Just let it play.
It's 12 minutes. It's 12 minutes.
Let it play.
Let's see. Yeah.
I mean, but put it in there.
Yeah.
Keep on coming. Keep on. Yeah.
I probably am.
Before he runs out, can we give Baba Mike a round of applause? If you all are interested in books on the topic of blues, Blues People by Mary Baraka is celebrating its 60th year in publication. We also have a book called The Blues, The Authentic Narrative of My Music and Culture by Chris Thomas King. If you've seen that movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? He was the brother who sold his soul to the devil. But he's a real life musician. He wrote a very good book on the blues, and he's dismantling a lot of the stereotypes and a lot of the things we think we know about blues in this book. So it's a really good one. Thank you all for coming out and have a very good rest of your Sunday.
Thank you.